Hello everybody! In the last episode we got the gearbox and the clutch and blah 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 back on the M111, ready to go in the 190, which is sat there. So now we're just making sure when we get everything in, is there anything else that we're going to have to do. So we've checked the fuel lines on there. One of them should bolt up already, but one of them's a different fitting. So we're trying to take off a fitting off the old engine, and hopefully we can make a stud out of that, because they've got studs. This one's got a bolt. So we're going to take that bolt off and pray that this stud, or nut, or whatever you want to say, yeah, stud, fits in there, and then the standard fuel lines that are in the car will just bolt straight onto this engine. We don't have to fanny around doing anything like that, because that was one of the main concerns of trying to make something. Does it go? Yes! Box is on. We have to do tons of modifications to get that working. The main thing left is to just pray that when we hook the slave on back up that it actually works. But that's all good. We can put it in the car. So we are putting the engine. It's late at night. I know it's quite weird to just start the video, but it's the end of day one, so we're going to finish this tomorrow. But we all want to get the engine just sitting in today. So that's what we're going to do.
Right, we're down. I'll go which way first. In. I can't see, so tell me when. In. I think we'll have to drop it down a bit now. In. Tell me when you're ready.
I think it needs dropping a little bit more.
You ready? We'll drop it slightly now. I'm going to stop it there.
Do you want me to get a jack underneath here and jack the back up?
If you can, yeah.
Yeah. So guys, after a massive faff with the engine mounts, well, just one of them.
Yeah.
The engine's in! She is in. We need to put the prop on and do the gearbox mount, but is that a tomorrow job or are we doing that now?
I think it might be worth doing it now because it's easy to push.
Right, so the engine is in. We need to fully put the prop on, but it's getting late, it's getting dark, it's getting cold. It's definitely a tomorrow job. Got one bolt in so we can at least roll it. The prop does actually line up, so it looks, I thought for a sec it wasn't going to, but it actually does, which is good news. So we're going to see you in the morning when we just need to get the back end in the air and get the wheels in the air so we can twist the prop and tighten it properly. And then we can just start pulling it back together and trying to figure out all of this absolute spaghetti junction of wiring. I've been underneath the car trying to get these prop bolts on. It's an absolute nightmare. They have 3 going through the donut on the side and 3 going through the other way, and it's just an absolute nightmare. And we've lost a nut as well. I've lost a nut, I can't find one of the nuts. It's the last one though. It's an absolute nightmare. I've never been so excited to do wiring in my entire life. Is there anything? Oh no, oh yeah, we've still got to fuck around under the car with the slave cylinder and also with the
Linkages.
With the linkages, but hopefully it won't be as faffy as this. This is so faffy, it's like unbelievable. So the prop shaft is on. It only cost half of my soul. So they're back in the front of the engine bay now. We're trying to get the original 190E fuel lines to bolt up to the M111 engine, and we have actually managed to do that. I say we, the royal we. Jack's managed to do that. So took one of the fittings off the 190 engine, so it was kind of like a stud on the 190 engine, but it was bolted into the M11. So we took that stud off, and where the bolt would go in to this, we've then put the stud, and then the 190 is actually, it's a banjo. What do they call them?
Like an AN fitting.
Like an AN fitting, yeah. So now this fuel line here is all bolted up. So I think our fuel is pretty much sorted. We will have to do 2 things regarding the fuel pump. We'll either have to find the fuel pump wire and the wiring, or we'll have to just put the fuel pump on a switch because race car. I mean, this is the thing, like with my E30, it's just literally going to be a drift car, so I'm just going to put everything on a switch inside the car. With this, I think the goal is to somewhat make it not a race car. So I think it would be nice to have as many things like stock as possible, but I think the goal here with here at Rusty's is just to get it running. I can tidy up everything later, so we're probably just going to bang it to 12 volt.
You don't want that.
Nah, race car innit? I'm going to be using the 190 clocks. Thank you to William Pittner. He has told us that you can wire in the clocks to the M11 wiring. The speedo's going to work because that's off the gearbox. Now in the process of changing over the sensors, so we need to put in the oil temp sensor from this engine into this engine, join the wires, and the coolant temperature sensor from that engine to this engine, join the wires. We've got to go back under the car. We've got to go back to hell. I've got a bolt and a slave cylinder, and then I'm going to take off one of the linkages because in the process of doing things, one of the linkages is a bit bent, so we need to get it out and straighten it back up. We're running into an issue. We can't get the slave cylinder on. The slave cylinder, it almost feels like the fork has just been pushed way far back, so the slave cylinder rod just seems way too long. We can't actually get the slave cylinder bolted onto the gearbox because the rod isn't compressed enough to even get the bolts in. I'll show you underneath in a minute with a GoPro if I can get underneath there. So the two options are, we either cut the rod down, which they don't want to do, or we space out the slave cylinder and use some longer bolts. Because right now what's happening is the end of the slave is touching the fork before the bolts are even in. So if we try to push it through, it's just going to totally disengage the clutch and the clutch is never going to be engaged. So we've got something here. Is this what we're going to, is this what, yes.
Just so I could test it.
So we can test it. So we're going to cut a little bit of this off. And then we're going to space, Jack's going to get underneath and have a look, see what gap there is. I think there's about an inch gap at the minute. And then we're going to make some spacers, and then that's just going to allow us to see if it works, right?
Yeah.
Our plan with the wiring is, we've done a little bit of multimeter things, and we've looked at the things that we know we need, and we've looked at where they get power from. So we've found out which wires power the things that we definitely need. This powers the K40 relay, which is what's in charge of the supercharger and all things like that. And these power something else like, oh, that's all the ignition. That's what they power. So these are the main power cables that we're going to try first. So we're literally just going to put them through and then put them on the battery when we're at that stage. But most of this stuff we can cut off. But we just need to make sure that the car starts with what we think it needs to start with before we start cutting things off that we might potentially need. So it's 20 centimetres off. 20 millimetres. 2 centimetres.
Half an inch.
Yeah.
Was half an inch.
Right. So we're going to cut 1/2 inch spacers. Yeah. And then we should be able to feel the clutch then, should we? Once it's got fluid in it and stuff. If it's all working.
Yeah, we'll bolt it up, bleed it and see what we get.
So here's the little washer things that we've made. Now we just need to get some longer bolts and pray that it's going to work. We've started putting up some things in the engine, so we've got the 190E radiator here. Found that we've got the hose pipe here off the M111. That goes onto the thermostat there. This pipe's off the M111. That should fit onto the water pump there, so that should fit nicely. This is off the stock 111 as well, and that should just about go onto the thermostat there. So a lot of things are quite similar. We're doing some clutch bleeding things. Jack sounds optimistic with what's going on. Thinks that we're getting pressure, which means it's actually pushing the fork. If we've got a clutch, I'm going to be very happy. Yeah.
Push it down.
Yeah.
Let it go.
She's going back up. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the handbrake on and it's in gear. We shouldn't be able to turn the engine if it's in gear with the handbrake on. As soon as we press that clutch, the engine should start turning. That's the theory, because we're releasing the handbrake from the prop. I can hear it trying. Yeah, they're spinning the wheels. Yeah. So the handbrake's just a bit shit. Or should I yank it a bit more? Hang on. Yeet. Right, that's not turning, right? Is he turning that?
Yeah, he's trying. he's attempting.
Press clutch.
Right, you ready? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Clutch.
Oh.
Oh!
Off.
Off. Yes! Yes!
Press it. Press it again.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Clutch. Yes!
That works.
It feels great. I've already double fisted Rusty when he's a tour. He doesn't even wear gloves ever. I don't know what's wrong with him. Everything is done underneath. Gearbox is back on, clutch is back on, gear linkages are back on. We need to do the speedo, but that can piss off. The engine's actually in. We started plugging most of the coolant lines are in. We've got a bit of an issue with the water pump one here because it sits exactly where the airbox is going to be. So that's going to be a little bit annoying. But all the other coolant pipes are in the way, bolted up. All the fuel lines are bolted up. Everything's pretty much on. Like, if the wiring was in, we could start this now. We need a long-term solution for a intercooler as well, because the one that we've got doesn't fit, but people make them which sit in this bit here, so that'd be good. But for the time being, we can just obviously just loosely bolt it up. This is the bit of kit which is getting in the way. So we had the expansion tank that sits here. This goes onto the water pump and then this goes into the radiator, but as you can see, it's touching the airbox. So this is what she is looking like. Brake boosters on, everything's plumbed up over this side. With a fuel line here, another fuel line here. It's all, we've got tons of room to work on over here. The other side, not so much. But there is the airbox as well, which has got like the supercharger flat thingy majiggy. There's the supercharger down here. It's pretty much.
You're excited?
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, all we've got to do is just, well, we don't even have to chuck the wiring in the car. We literally just need to put the things that we need to plug in, and we can just leave it dangling over the bonnet. Do the grounds, and just send the power cables to the battery. So these work on something called, which is a fly-by-wire, which is, for me, I don't understand. I'm guessing it has to do that for the supercharger flap as well. So what happens is you have a cable which attaches to this. The cable then will pull this, and then in here is some kind of a resistor, which then sends a signal over to the throttle body to open and close. Seems a bit overcomplicated, but I'm guessing it has to do something with the supercharger flap. I'm guessing this and that need to kind of open at the same time. Almost like a carb, like a bike carb would, all the carbs need to open at the same time. Whereas bike carbs just run like multiple cables. They've obviously just decided to do it electronically, which is annoying for this application. Because we need to find a way to fab up the original 190 throttle cable, which is this, to this. Now we can do a couple of different things. We can do what Jack wants to do, which is order a cable connector thing.
It clamps onto that piece of the cable.
Yeah.
And then you can put
it's almost like a crimp, but not for a wire, for a cable.
Yeah, and then you can put the right end on it to fit that.
Because you can see we have this end here, but this end is a ball. So we've got the other end of the cable from the SLK, which clips onto that, but we just can't join the two cables together. My option, weld the ball onto the end of here, and I think I'm going to win this battle because we're not going to get a cable connected today.
To be fair, it's temporary, isn't it? So it's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's your car. You do what you want.
I mean, we do like welding things, but will it even idle without this?
It'll have to be plugged in.
Yeah, and then we can just hold it.
Rev it just by pressing it.
Yeah.
See if we get.
I hate to say it, guys, but this actually might.
Don't.
It might. Yeah. Okay, so guys, this is what we're doing. It looks messy, it looks terrible. We've still got the 190 connected to the battery, and we're just piggybacking all of the wiring off the battery for the 190. I don't know if you can see this, but our clocks are up. We have mileage, like our clocks are lit up right now. What we're gonna have to do is, we've still not figured out a fuel pump way of sending power to the fuel pump, but it should be connected from the 190, so once we crank that key on the 190, the fuel pump should start going. At that point, I'm going to crank our key here. Right, should I see if I've got lights here on my end?
You can, but I can't get any car.
Not much is happening here now. I've got power, but I've not got... I don't think I've got ignition here at the minute. I think it's something to do with this ignition box here. Oh no. See this, when I plug this in, it makes absolutely no difference whatsoever. I think something on here is still not getting power. Yeah, I think now it doesn't think it's got the key in it. So we can't get the car to like crank, or we just can't get the clocks to recognise that the key's there. Even without the key, the dash lights up, and so I think that some wires aren't meant to be getting power, and we're giving them power, and we're just a bit stuck really. So we need Mr. William Pittner on FaceTime. I did ask him, I said, if we struggle with the wiring, can we FaceTime you? And he says yeah. So that's what we need to do. We need to wait for William, because we've got everything that we can get plugged in here. I think right now we're going too far. We're giving too many things power, because even without the key in, everything's lighting up, which shouldn't be happening. So I think there's some things in there where we're giving them 12 volt and it shouldn't have 12 volt until the key's clicking them, because that's the whole point of a key. You have some things which work with ignition and some are live. So the things on the ignition, we're just giving everything 12 volt. So we're giving everything live power when things shouldn't be. And it's almost like, yeah, so we're going wrong somewhere. So we need some help with the wiring. So I've messaged Mr. William Pittner. Hopefully you're watching this, mate. And hopefully you can actually help us sort this out. Because right now, we're a little bit stuck.